Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful Saturday as we will be interrupting our Capablanca saga, but only briefly to show you this very nice game. It's played in round 3 of the Bay Area International Tournament in San Francisco, and we have a young FIDE master from the United States, Christopher Yu, who is only 12 years old, playing against, well, a renowned Vietnamese Grandmaster, Laquang Liam. And Laquang Liam is somewhere around 27-15, I believe, in classical rating, and Christopher Yu is 23-88. So there is quite a bit of a difference in ratings. It's really an interesting game. So I do hope you enjoy it. And it's interesting, like I said, Yu is 12 years old, Laquang Liam is 27 years old. So it's a similar age difference like in our Capablanca saga, where the 13-year-old Capablanca is playing against 27-year-old Juan Corzo. But I do hope you enjoy it. So let's check out this very nice game. We have E4 by young Christopher. And C6, the Caro-Kann defense. D4, D5, and here Christopher goes for E captures on D5, so the exchange variation of the Caro-Kann. Meaning that he wants to avoid a lot of lines that black can go if he doesn't go for the exchange variation, but also that he decides which variation will be played, and he definitely prepared something. C captures on D5, knight to F3, we have knight to C6, and now bishop to B5, pinning the knight. We have E6, and here there are a couple of moves that are known in this position. Castles was played here, knight E5 is a known move, attacking the pinned piece, and C3 is a known move. But here C4 is a move that has never been played before, already on move 6, and it means Christopher really came prepared for this game. And okay, we have a completely new game now. D captures on C4, and Christopher castles. Black keeps on developing, bishop to D6, white will capture back the pawn at some point, so there is no rush. We have knight to c3 and now knight e7. Now that the knight has been placed on e7, the dark square bishop is developed, bishop to g5, pinning the knight. We have castles by Laquang Liam, and now bishop captures on c4 as the bishop is no longer pinning the king. And here b6. We have a3, bishop to b7, and here rook to e1. And if you look at this position, black now has excellent development. Both of black's bishops are excellent, eyeing that white king on g1. The knight is nicely developed, the rook is coming to c8, the queen will at some point move, and the rook will also come into the game. So the only thing black needs to figure out how to get rid of this pin, and black decides to first go rook to c8. As the bishop on c4 is undefended, so some nice discoveries would be possible. Christopher moves the bishop to a2, and now comes h6. Liam forces Christopher to decide what he's going to do with the bishop, whether he wants to capture. Of course, you don't want to do this. Why give up the bishop pair? So bishop to h4. And now queen to d7, breaking the pin and also making room for this rook to enter the game. We have d5 now. A very nice move that allows for some exchanges in the center. E captures on d5, knight captures on d5, knight captures on d5, and bishop captures on d5. We have rook f to e8, now opposing this rook on an open file. Rook captures on e8, we have rook captures on e8, and now king to h1. A nice prophylactic move. If the queen never moves, no bishop captures on h2 check ideas will be possible with picking up the bishop, but also we don't want to allow such things anyway. We have g5, and this is the one of the critical moments of the game, where Laquang Liam is hoping for this variation. He attacks the bishop, he's hoping for bishop to g3. Bishop captures, pawn captures, and now rook to d8. Attacking the bishop here, the only way to defend the bishop is to move it to b3, to also guard the queen. And here, black would have a lot of options. He could go queen to f5 to keep the queens on the board, or he could simply just exchange everything, rook captures, bishop captures, and here after f5, black would have a better position. Yes, the material is equal, white's pawn structure is somewhat messed up on the king side, but black can never lose this, and well, as Laquang Liam is a much higher rated player, a much stronger player, he would enjoy playing this game, and you know, he could play it for as long as he wants to, until he maybe creates some winning chances. But his young adversary after g5 does not allow this variation after bishop to g3. Rather, he decides to sacrifice a piece. Bishop captures on g5. And okay, it's a piece for 2 pawns. H captures and knight captures. And okay, already you're threatening to capture on f7. And here, knight to d8 was played, offering a trade of light square bishops, and also the knight from d8 protects the f7 pawn. A much better defense was king to g7, but this is something that we'll be seeing a lot in this game. How even such a strong player like Laquang Liam has trouble defending, and it's a saying in chess, it's always easier to attack than to defend. Here, if you just played king g7, then there's really no problem. White can capture this pawn. Let's say bishop captures, now you get rook to h8. Already black is starting the attack, you keep your bishop pair to attack the white king. After h3, queen is coming to e7, and all is well. Everything in black's camp is defended. Black simply continues playing this game. Ideas like queen e5 become possible, and it will be a very promising position for black. But okay, after knight g5, we have knight d8 going after the f7 pawn. Defending the f7 pawn, and now bishop captures. You cannot capture with the queen because the bishop is hanging on d6, so you would have to play knight captures on b7. We have queen to d3, now going for some queen h7 business, and here again king to f8 is played. f5 would have been a much sturdier defense. Here, if queen to d5 check, you will simply move the king, and after h4 protecting the knight, rook e7. Now the rook is also protecting the knight here, the queen can now move, the queen is coming to e8, this rook is coming to e1. A much more solid approach to defending this position. But here, Liam goes for king to f8, and now comes queen to d4. Again, with some possibilities of queen h8, and maybe knight h7, followed by queen to f6. Again, a lot of possibilities here. And here, if you play something like king to e7, that's perfectly fine. You can start running away with your king. Now, there's no knight h7 check, there's no queen f6. If you go rook e1 check, the black king will simply hide, king d8, and this is perfectly fine. Rook c1, cutting off the c file, but queen to f5, and now black is still in the game. If after queen to d4 you don't go king e7, you could try something like rook to e2. This is also possible. For example, if now knight to h7 check, king e7, now queen to f6 comes, but now white will be able to force a draw here. Let's say you go back, king e8, king e8, queen h8, queen e7, queen f6 check, and here white will be able to force a draw with a perpetual check. But as Laquang Liam is much higher rated, and of course he does not want to draw, he continues fighting. So he plays rook to e5. And yeah, this Bay Area International Tournament in San Francisco, it's the prize money for first prize is $5,000. So it's basically a tournament where renowned players like Laquang Liam come to grab some easy money, and where young FIDE masters like Christopher Yu come to take some international norms. In his case, he would very much like to earn his international master norm. But okay, rook to e5, attacking the knight on g5, and now f4, defending the knight, but now we have queen to g4. You cannot capture the rook, as the queen on d4 is undefended, sorry about that, undefended, and rook to d1. Now the queen is defended, and capturing the rook is definitely a possibility. Here we have rook to e2, and here Laquang Liam is already threatening checkmate on g2. But this doesn't work, so feel free to pause the video and try to find the only possible line that is playable here for white. I will give you a couple of seconds, as it is a Saturday, you know, feel free to use your time wisely. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, you are an excellent player, as this is not an easy line to find. But, and for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the idea is knight to h7 check. And now you see the problem. If you go king to e8 or king to g8, then knight to f6 check will pick up the queen on g4. You don't want to allow this. So the only move available to you is king to e7. This is what Laquang Liam played. And now we have queen to f6 check, which was played in the game. And now you can either go to d7 or to e8. The problem with king to e8, of course, you would very much like to checkmate here, is queen to h8 check. And now after king to e7, queen to f8 check, king to d7, and now you can see that the f6 square is available for the knight to deliver this check. Knight f6 check, forking the king and the queen here on g4, king to c6, and now your queen is also under attack on f8, so first you will grab the bishop here. Queen captures, knight captures, and now comes knight captures on g4. And after rook captures on b2, you will simply continue playing this game, and you will be better here. King goes to c7, h4 is coming, your h-pawn is marching up the board now. Most likely white will be winning here. So you don't have the option of actually going to e8, so king to d7 was played, which is much better, you might think, as the queen is on f6 now. There is no knight to f6 check to pick up the queen on g4. But Christopher, you had this all figured out. Queen captures on d6 with check, grabbing the bishop and also moving the queen from f6. So now knight to f6 check is coming, and you cannot move the king as the queen is guarded by the rook. Knight captures, and now comes knight to f6 check. King has to move, now comes knight captures on g4, and now comes rook captures on b2. So here, after all this craziness, Christopher Yu is simply up a pawn, and it's a very dangerous h-pawn, which is a passed pawn. And as you know, those are the fastest. But okay, knight to e3. We have rook to e2 attacking the knight, and now comes knight to d5. We have knight to c4, and here comes h4. Already Christopher is now trying to march his passed pawn up the board. King to f5, we have h5, and now comes rook to e6. The rook is now preventing the pawn from advancing to the 6th rank, and rook to c1. The knight is under attack, knight goes back to d6, and now king to g1, starting to also bring the king into the game. King to g4 going after the h5 pawn, and here we have rook to c7. And again, we have this moment where Laquang Liam is playing against a much lower rated opponent, more than 300 rating points. And here, if he just captures the pawn, he eliminates the passed pawn, rook captures on a7 is coming, and most likely this endgame would resolve in a draw at some point. White is still up a pawn, but surely black will be able to hold this. But we have a5. Even down a pawn, Laquang Liam wants to keep chances of a win on the board. Perhaps if he can create a passed pawn here, he can still play for a win. But okay, we have rook to c6, now going after the b6 pawn, b5, and now comes knight to c7 with an attack on this rook. And now you have a problem. Here, Laquang Liam played rook to e7 with the idea, okay, if you capture my knight, I will capture your knight. But now the position is simply dead lost for black. Feel free to pause the video again and now find the winning move for young Christopher here. For those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, you are an excellent endgame player. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the move is h6. You simply start marching your pawn down the board. And now the idea that Laquang Liam had of playing f5 to control this rank doesn't work because of knight to d5. And now you see the problem. Your knight is under attack, your rook is under attack, and you can't even give up the knight to block the pawn or anything. You can't even protect the knight because of knight to f6 check. This knight to f6 check controls the d7 square and also the h7 square that the pawn will use to advance forward. So here there's really not much to do. Also, if f5, you can't really... there's no move that you can play here. Knight d5 is simply too strong a move, which would be winning. So here, after h6, Liam tried knight to f5, attacking the pawn here, and now comes h7. I mean, why not? And how do you prevent pawn to h8? The knight is covering e8, so there's only one way to do it. Rook e1 check. King has to move. We have king to f2, and now comes rook to h1, defending the pawn. Now, of course, you cannot advance the pawn immediately, but you still have knight to d5 check. Sorry, knight to d5. And now, if rook captures on h7, you simply play knight to f6 check again, and, well, we can show it. It, again, picks up the rook. So it's not possible. After knight to d5, we have knight to g3. And if you could only somehow move your king somewhere, but you can't. All of the squares are unavailable. The f4 square is guarded by the knight. The black's own knight is blocking the king from advancing. g5 covered by the pawn. And if you put the king, of course, on the h-file, then white is free to promote. So knight g3, hoping to now advance the king, and knight to f6 check will not be an issue. But rook to c8 now, protecting the queening square that is h8. Knight e4 check, we have king to e3, and now black has no longer any options. Rook captures on h7 must be played. King captures on e4, and now comes rook to h6. White is now up a full knight, and with the same amount of pawns, this is of course a winning game. Knight to e3 check was played here, and it was in this position that Laquang Liam resigned the game. So a wonderful victory for young Christopher Yu, who is well, closer and closer to achieving his international master norm. Would be an excellent ordeal for a 12-year-old player. And yeah, it's interesting, quite somewhat different than the Capablanca versus Juan Corzo saga that we're covering, as you know, there Capablanca had no knowledge of the opening theory at all, and here you can see that times have changed. Young Christopher already surprised Lukwang Liam with a variation that was never played before on move 6. But that's the kind of chess that is being played today. But yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I found this game. David Lada sent it to me. He's the official photographer of the tournament, and he sent me a couple of nice photos of Christopher, this one, and a few more, the ones I will be using in the thumbnail as well. So feel free to check out David Lada's work. I will put a few of his links for his social media in the description below. He's an excellent photographer, so do check him out. I would like to thank Kurt Mulder, James Jobson, Dumitru Frunza, Jan Roy, and Robert Silverman for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon with some more games from the Capablanca saga, but also the Tata Steel is starting soon, so we're going to be covering that simultaneously as well. Thank you all, and I'll see you soon, and have an excellent rest of the Saturday.